Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. A hugely important and entertaining day of CDL action today, with Vegas suffering a huge setback to their World Championship ambitions, but OpTic Texas also making a claim to potentially be the best team in the game right now, certainly in the hardpoint and the respawn mode in general. Shotzzy taking a lot of credit today, and understandably so, but I feel like Ghosty definitely deserves his flowers as well, as we shall describe. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I was so confused today because watching the football in the Premier League, and Doug was just replying to this tweet from Newcastle, so apparently that's his team now, which is an interesting storyline that I was not expecting of the day. But speaking of the UK, we've got to talk London versus Vegas. This was such a weird series in many ways. The honeymoon period for Vegas lasted their first series against Boston and the first map against London, because they smoked London game one. This did not look close. I looked at this game when it was 170-30, and I thought, okay, it's chalk. The series is over. Vegas are actually good, and London are still London. Now, London kind of made it a little bit more competitive at the end. It wasn't really particularly so, though. But still, when they went for a listening with Vegas, they sounded frustrated, and I think it was the same against Boston. Like, they would win a map, and they would still sound frustrated. I know that Clay's teams, they were a bit like this back on the subliner days in Cold War, when the team would be okay, but the comms didn't sound like they were okay. And I think that is a bit of a problem, right, for maintaining team morale, because if your team isn't hyped and happy when you're doing well, then it's certainly not going to be when you're losing, right? So I know that a lot of Vegas fans heard that listening and were like, okay, we're winning this map, but this doesn't sound particularly promising. And game 2 was where they really needed to win here, Vegas, but they threw it away with this specific round. Now, credit to, Nasty and iLLeY, I thought were great this series, as was Scraps as well. He bounced back, at least KD-wise, big time from his performances so far. But this was an unlosable round for the Vegas side. 2 versus 4 to take it to a round 11. There were other chances here as well. TJ goes down. Clay makes a questionable at best play, let's say, right here, when he goes for iLLeY's all stunned up. He goes for the kill here, and yeah, just doesn't get the job done, unfortunately for him. The 2v2 goes the way of London. They tie the series 1-1, and this is where, this is the reason why I said just yesterday or the other day that I don't think Vegas will make champs, is because their control is still so suspect. They lost the control to Marky B, and if that's happening, I think they've now lost their last 7 controls in a row. Another one to London. If you lose controls to London, man, it ain't looking good. It's such an important swing mode, especially for a Vegas team that isn't going to be 3-0ing anyone, really. They're always going to do it in 4 or 5 against at least pretty much everyone they play if they are going to win the series. So control is just so crucial, and they just can't win one to save their lives, even against London. It's not been a good picture for them lately at all. And then goes game 4, and Nasty was taken over early on. Temp had a really bad end to this map, actually. I think he ended up 15-28. I think he was maybe 15-20 or so, and then he just had a massive death streak towards the end. Didn't have much hill time to his name either. So credit to the Ravens. They actually came out swinging today, and you've got to credit them for it, because I would have thought with London their mental might be completely short. But I said earlier today, right, Vegas can play down to their opposition, and I feel like they did it here to a certain extent as well. They did not play how they did against Boston. The teamwork wasn't really there, and this is the Vegas that you're sometimes going to see where they're just not particularly impressive, right? And I feel like they've still got that in them, even with the Standy thing, and it was exposed here. Fair play though to the London guys. Scraps, of course there was a lot of criticism of Scraps the other day, and I feel like for good reason with his playstyle, but look, the guy dropped to 1.4 and they won the series today, so that worked out for them. And Clay, immediately he was off the scene, he was frustrated, and Temp as well was not a happy man. So it was funny because Vegas, their camp didn't seem happy when they won game 1 by 150 points. So yeah, I don't think it's looking good for them, to be honest. Clay says he doesn't seem happy, and in fairness, even before they got top 6 at Major 3, and that was an impressive result, they were, I think, getting slammed in scrims. So I don't know how their practice has been going lately, but I wouldn't be surprised if they've been struggling a little bit online, and therefore it's translating to their matches. But this was such a huge match for them, right? Because they just seem allergic to getting into the winners bracket. I don't know what it is. They've got such an achievable stage. They beat Boston, they play London, I think they play Guerrillas and or Florida. Their match schedule is so achievable to go 4-1, get 40 points on the board, especially when Rokkr might end up 2-3 or 3-2, claw some points back, get a winners bracket seed. This is the best chance the Vegas have here. So look, they still could close out here potentially 3-2. Of course, they play Toronto on the final weekend, which is probably not looking good for them, but who knows, especially given how bad they are in control. You'd imagine that's a free dub for Toronto in that game mode. So I'm not convinced about Vegas, and it's unfortunate, right, because I believe champs will be in Vegas. I'd love to see them there. I just don't see it happening, unfortunately. And if Clay doesn't make champs, like, I kind of doubt that he's going to be competing next year again. If he does make champs for Vegas, I feel like he'll get a better chance than another team. Hopefully he still will. And it's not like Clayster individually is the only ray of sunshine on this team, but you know, it would be nice to see Clay keep going one more year. And if this team does just crash and burn from now to the end of the season, that might not happen anymore. We'll see how it goes. Now, in fairness, iLLeY said, credit to iLLeY, he played well in this series, but after the series he said, we've showed we can compete with the top teams. I don't necessarily think that's the case. They've been getting bodied by everyone lately, and Vegas aren't really a top team in my opinion. And Waskin gassing up his brother Scraps here, but you know, I'd like to see this against a team that isn't Vegas Legion that can do this on occasion. But good results for London. They got a win on the board, but it was really the Vegas Legion fans that are not going to be happy about this one, and they need a quick bounce back, Vegas, because they need to go 3-2 here if they want any chance, I think, of making the World Championship, because their schedule in Stage 5 is certainly not as easy as what they have this time around. The second series then, the Los Angeles Derby, 5-0 so far in CDL history for Guerrillas. Somehow, I don't know how Thieves hadn't beaten them so far, to be perfectly honest, but this is how it went to start. But this time Thieves got the job done, and this was an absolute wipe the floor job, honestly. Okay, game 2 they lost the Search and Destroy, and Thieves' search is still a bit suspect, right? But I mean, the respawn lately has been just so good for Thieves. Their average performance lately in the hardpoints matches OpTic's this stage, and they play tomorrow, I believe. So that is incredibly enticing indeed. Now, game 2, Guerrillas bounce back. They win the game 2, but Thieves never felt in doubt to lose this map. And this was, okay, look, in fairness to Arcitys, right, I'll give him some credit. He had similar damage to his teammates. He had 9 assists, but he did drop 3 kills, which has got to be the record all time for lowest kills in a respawn. 1 per round, 3-11 he goes, and I mean, yeah, I've never seen anything like that. We know that Doug dropped 7 and got roasted. 6, I think we have seen. Drazah was like, oh my god, this guy, what is going on? And this was the scoreboard, right? A 3-0 in about, I mean, literally 6.5 minutes it took for them to win this map. Arcitys was 3-11. Now, okay, he has the lowest damage in the lobby, but it was marginally lower than JoeDeceives with 12 kills, and he did have 9 assists. So these things happen, but still, 3, I mean, Kenny had 7 to be fair, but I mean, because it was such a quick map. But yeah, 3, very like, people were saying aLLeY with the 3 instead of the E, and I was like, oh my god, this is not going to go anytime soon. So he's had a rough time lately. I don't know, there's been discussions with Arcitys about the fact that, you know, statistically, Assault has been straight up their better AR lately, and I know that Arcitys has been getting frustrated. It feels like out of the game, he might not be, you know, maybe the great teammate that he has been in the past. So there are some questions there, but Guerrillas frankly don't have the money to do anything anyway, so this team probably remains. But it is a team that gave Thieves their first win over Guerrillas, and this wasn't even close. I mean, Octane was on fire. I mean, this was outrageous, right? A 2.16 KD. This just goes to show how, you know, fair play, how well Octane was playing individually, but also just how poor Guerrillas were. Like, how do you let someone drop a 2.2 KD on you? You don't do that very often. Even like a 1.6, 1.7 is rare enough. But yeah, to go, this is over 4 maps as well, to go 2.2 KD plus 37, outrageous stuff. I saw the scoreboard, I got the not safe for work tag because it was just that bad. And of course, as expected, Drazah comes in with the heat, right? So we saw this in McSees when Drazah, you know, went down. There's been the beef for years between these two guys, right? And, you know, there was the original tweet from Drazah, and then there was the reply from McSees, and then there was the most recent one from Drazah where he just puts him straight to bed. So no more words there from Drazah. Some nice and spicy stuff as expected, but it was Octane that was the key force in this series. 32 deaths in the whole series is pretty outrageous as it is, and well, that was job done very quickly. The final series I want to discuss in this one is OpTic versus the New York Subliners, because this to me was a real test for OpTic in some regard, right? How good was their respawn going to be? We know Subliners have got better in Search and Destroy, but their respawn has always been pretty good this year. Subliners will usually take you to a game 5. They're good in the hardpoints, they're good in the controls. They would be a good test for an OpTic team that, say in scrims, we saw just yesterday from Shotzzy, he said they haven't really lost to anyone in ages, so they needed to play FaZe in Toronto to try and actually know what it felt like to lose again. And we wondered whether those comments from Shotzzy were going to backfire when they played a very decent respawn team in the New York Subliners. So the last time they've played, though, they lost 3-0 to the Subliners, of course, and on, you know, the metrics, it looked like a very close series, right? Their match record is very similar, their hardpoint, their search records, all pretty similar across the board, apart from a relatively poor control compared to the Subliners, but OpTic's control lately has definitely been hitting new levels. Now, Shotzzy was the star of the show in the hardpoints, and OpTic's hardpoint to me is hands down the best in the game right now. They were 14-6 in Major 3 cycle, and they started out again undefeated in the respawn modes, or undefeated in hardpoint at the very least, and game one was close early on, and then it was just a takeover mode. And this reminds me of the, the OpTic Dynasty. Obviously, we can't compare this team to the OpTic Dynasty yet by any means, but it was so common with the OpTic Dynasty and Hardpoint where they would go 50 to 50, 70 to 70, 80 to 80 with the other team on the first rotation, and then they would just blow out a massive lead over the next few rotations. And this OpTic team has the tendency to do that. They'll play the first rotation pretty even with the opposition, and then they'll just hit form and blow them out of the water. And that's when Shotzzy, I mean, this guy is just so much fun to watch, man. It's out of control. Subliners had no answer for him. And again, they put another team in the 100-point club. Like, the amount of teams, actually good respawn teams, that OpTic will just chuck in the 100-point club for fun. It's outrageous. I mean, we saw the scrims the other day. I also find it funny, Dashy doesn't even play with these guys, because Dashy is in his head about the fact that the Hex Quarters Wi-Fi is better, or the Ethernet's better there, so he doesn't even play with them. And he plays separately, and they play from the Envy, or former Envy, now OpTic, headquarters. So the Hex Quarters is going to go in a few months. Dashy's got to be ready to move in. And obviously these guys having no problem for this facility, but I find it kind of funny that Dashy just, I think he's in his head about the whole, that's at least my perspective. Maybe you guys disagree. The Dashy needs to get down here with these guys, but it doesn't seem to be affecting their performance. Right, another 100-point club game one. Game two, though, was so eventful for so many different reasons. Huke got spun right here by Hydra. And OpTic have been unreal in the respawns lately, right? But the search and destroy discipline and some of the questions around their decision-making in the modes still linger, right? There's no doubt about it. But their respawn now is so good that it can bail them out of these situations. So this search and destroy was not pretty if you're an OpTic fan. There were a few trolls here. Like, for example, this round where Shotzzy was trying to get up into one of his jump spots. I think if you break the vase, you can jump in here. He tried it and gets killed trying to do it. And I think they might have won this round anyway, but I mean, still, it was a bit of a mess, to be honest. And then there was this round where this looked like a guaranteed 4-2 lead. OpTic will close it out 2-0. I mean, if OpTic go up 2-0, like, it's chalk, right? These guys are way too good to not close out an advantage like that. But Hydra gets one kill on Dashy and then just goes and hops the bomb. So immediately here, they get the call out in. Ghosty runs away, and Shotzzy makes the call to go down low instead of going top bedroom. If Shotzzy goes top bedroom here, like, he gets the kill, but Shotzzy goes to the side. And even at this point, like, Shotzzy is in a bit of a tricky position, to be honest. Like, he's probably got to go and just check this, because Hydra could be on it, right? And he does hop it. They have no information, and Hydra gets away with the defuse. So, I mean, that was ridiculous. That was a completely stolen round that Hydra should not have got away with. And it's those situations against really top teams that will punish you in big tournaments. So, I think if anything, it's kind of good for OpTic, because they know, having lost this map, that they know there's things for them to still work on, right? And these situational search and destroy plays where they turn their brains off is certainly one of them. And then this was honestly one of the plays of the year so far, if not the play of the year, to be honest. Kismet on top of the TV comes and gets 1, 2, 3, shuts down their push towards the B site, and picks up the ace as well in about 6 or 7 seconds. Remarkable play from Kismet. And yeah, that 3-piece is absolutely stunning, and that helped them win this map too. And as soon as that happened, he thought, damn, okay, New York Subliners are good in control. That's not OpTic's best game mode. And the Subliners won map 1 or won round 1 in the control. But then again, it was OpTic in their respawns. Now, we know that in scrims, Shotzzy says they don't lose maps. So that obviously includes their controls. Even though their control record in matches isn't actually particularly good, they obviously must be pretty good at it because of what we've heard from behind the scenes. And it does seem like that's starting to arrive. Shotzzy said in the post-game interview that they enjoy it more now. They actually take it more seriously in their practice, and it does seem to be translating. They took this one 3-1, and then there was a Hydro hardpoint coming up, a map mode combination where you're always going to favor OpTic Texas. Even Ghosty was getting ready to go before the game even began. This is apparently how you're made a war map, and that's exactly what Shotzzy was doing this entire map. Early on, though, the Subliners got an advantage. They went up something like 180 to 140, and it looked like Subliners might take it. But as soon as OpTic got one rotation, I thought, okay, this game is very much still on, because we know what Shotzzy does in this map. They went on a crazy streak. Shotzzy was making unbelievable plays. They got the spawns locked down, and OpTic just nailed the rotations, 3 hills in a row. Eventually, they got to 245, and realistically, the Subliners couldn't make a 50-point run to come back and win. So an incredible performance from OpTic, to be honest, in the respawns. And if they tidy up their search and destroy, they are looking seriously deadly. It's that control, right? If they can get their control to be where their hardpoint is, they're going to be incredibly tough to stop right now. And their hardpoint is undisputedly the best in the game, I would say. And part of that comes down to the fact that Shotzzy is clearly, over the last month or so, a top 5 player in the game, if not better than that. The guy's been out of control lately. And look, Shotzzy's going to get a lot of credit for this, and for good reason. The guy had a 1.36 this series. Huke did okay, Dashy did okay, did their jobs. But Ghosty Ghosty as well, right? Like, this guy, a 1.2 this series. I'll share the clip here in a second when he says he knew he was going to play well today. But man, ever since Shotzzy has stopped having to think about doing any IGLing and Ghosty can take over that mantle and he slays in the respawns, like, you know, he is really, I think, locking in his spot to maintain his spot on this roster next season. Whatever they do with Pred and Huke or whatever that case is, Ghosty is really marking his territory now to say, look, I am the best player you can possibly find to be in the flex IGL role for this roster, and I wouldn't disagree with that statement right now. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.
We're good. I'm holding it. Don't trip. Get the